put on to like what we're doing. So today we're talking about purpose. Onga Henry just started off stating that it is the reason for the existence of something. And Sister Faith said that it's fine, but she kind of opposed because purpose, according to her, Pastor T.D. Jakes also defined it to be...
No, that was not his definition.
It was not a definition, but like his...
He just said like...
contribution to it. That it's...
He was like... It wasn't really a topic. He just said, oh, if you cannot figure out your purpose, figure out your passion, because your passion leads you to purpose. So when he says his definition of like of purpose, I was just like, okay, I don't 100 agree with it, but like, yeah, because then I gave like a scenario of like someone who probably at birth they claimed he was going to be a preacher, and then like growing up he finds out like, oh, I really like photography, and like that's the direction, and he ends up being like a photographer and never actually ends up being like a preacher, you know. So I'm like,
Can they fulfill purpose?
yeah,
Like does passion and gift.
yeah,
Like,
basically.
But those two are linked. They're really linked.
They're not. I don't think that it's the one thing. I think you need your gift in order to fulfill your purpose. They're two separate things. You're given that gift as a tool. You're given the gift as a tool. If I want to be a baker, I need to go learn the skills on how to bake. I can't be a baker off the top of my head. So photography could be great, but that photography could have led him to God's purpose of preaching. It may not mean that preaching was the wrong thing for him, that it wasn't his purpose. Maybe that person didn't actually find what photography should have led them to. And if it's photography as well that is your purpose, then that's fine. But I don't think that they're separate. I don't think that they're like it's the one thing. I think they're separate, but you need one to help you in your journey to the other. You know, it's like a preacher can't just be a preacher without the gift of the word. You're just going to be saying whatever comes to the top of your head. But you need the gift of the word to fulfill the purpose of being a preacher.
Okay, so
you can't do
the
it without
purpose...
the gift.
Sorry, so the purpose you're agreeing here does lie under...
I agree with both of them, but
Okay.
I don't think that it should just be the one. I think they're separate. I think you need both of them.
So they work together.
They have to work together.
Okay.
So one person might have one view the other, but you need both of them.
But do you need gifts to fulfill purpose?
Yeah.
Your gift is given for you to fulfill your purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do need it.
So, yeah.
No, these are the
exactly.
questions that we're...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I would say you definitely need it.
Okay, wait.
Can I say one thing?
Okay, go ahead.
Because see, when Q asked the question, said what's his purpose? That's just thrown into the wind. Obviously, what are you gonna say to the layman? You know, and like I said, there is nothing here. Look, there's nothing here that doesn't have a purpose. Not one single thing. Do you get me? Like that's why I say it's the reason for the existence of something. Now, if we should go deeper and say what's your purpose, which is where you're coming from, because I wasn't even talking about that, like purpose of a being, a human being. Then, obviously, like I said, like you know, you make a cup. You know the purpose of that cup. The cup doesn't know the purpose. Like you know, that's why I said when it comes to us, it's in God because He created us with a purpose in mind. You know,
that's
so
true.
so if I should say, there's a difference between our purpose, you know, and just the word itself, purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from now.
Yeah.
It could be linked to some extent. It could be just something you're interested in at one phase of your life, you know, and eventually you find out, you know, there's something else you're giving birth to for.
Obviously, God created us with a purpose in mind. So when you think about purpose, you have to think first of all, why did God create mankind? And then He put us on earth to do what? It's definitely not to stare at each other, but He put us here to do something. But every single one of us, we're different in the way we look, in our giftings, because we're all put here for a purpose, which for every one of us under the Christian umbrella is one target, which is to spread the good news. But to each person, He has given different gifts to accomplish that in different ways. We can't all be the same. We can't all do the same thing, which is why your passion will be different. Your gift will be different to the next person beside you, but ultimately, all our purpose, all of us under the Christian umbrella, spread the good news of Christ. How you do that is defined in your purpose of why God created you and why he gave you the specific gift that he gave you to fulfill your purpose, which the next person can't do. No matter how much the next person tries to, you know, if God gives you an idea and somebody wants to come and steal your idea, you know, it may look like they're thriving, but they can only go so far. You're the visionary. Only you can take it to where it's meant to go. It won't get there unless you're lazy about it. But for the person who God has given the vision, that will be the last man standing. You can't copy what you don't.
You have examples. Say, okay, somebody's supposed to be a preacher, and then you keep imagining yourself in a crusade, doing deliverance, blah blah blah. That's your final picture, you know. But as time unveils, you might find out, okay, you have this gift, and it's meant to go this way. You're meant to be an evangelist, or what I'm trying to say is, one thing that helps us find our purpose is time. You know, time is very important. Besides God, obviously, like, you know, time is very, very important, and especially when you found your purpose, you know, you have to keep growing in the spirit. And this is one thing, just like I don't know, is it Faith I was saying it, but one of you guys, you know, somebody might be gifted in so many things. Okay, you were saying it like, you know, but what you're gonna do from your purpose, no one else can do that same thing, because that's what you were made to do. So it's like, where do you connect with God the most? It's like, you know, like I connect to God the most through Rhema. You know, through the word, like, you know, when it's coming, I know, like, you know, I'm having fellowship. You know, sometimes Q will stay and he wants to sing his heart off, like, I'm just tired, like, I'm not the kind of person that wants to be singing all the time. You know, Lengi too, you know, different people do different things. Some people they dance, whatnot, like, you know, but when it comes to the word, you know, like, I'm there, I want to talk, I'm talking about things I've learned, you know. Now, the question is, okay, am I supposed to be a preacher? Blah, 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 blah. Now, that comes with time, you know, the places I find myself around, you know, when I stand before people, you know, if I'm able to impact lives, you know, like, so, I'm trying to say that, number one, is God, obviously, time, and also growing, like, and knowing what connects you the most to God, or the Holy Spirit, and where you're most effective. You know, there's so many other things I can do, and I do from time to time, but I know this one, this is my purpose, so yeah.
So let's go to the Bible. So I'm just asking questions I know, but like that's how I'm being led to like carry this on. So when did David find his purpose? When do you think? Okay.
But I think, okay, I wasn't there.
I don't know the answer to the question.
Yeah, I wasn't there, and I know like anointing came with it, but I would want to believe that at the final time when he got hold against Goliath, he probably felt like, I'd probably called out for this. I don't know, I wasn't there, but like that's just what I think. You know?
I think it's okay.
Sorry, no, you can go on.
No, you talk, because I've said my idea.
No, I think it just even tying that with what they both said, with time. So with time, he found, like at that particular time, he found it. But when you actually go into scripture, you see that David and Goliath were actually cousins. I don't think anybody, like a lot of people or a lot of Christians, know that.
It's not as deep, but it's not.
You know the story of Naomi.
Okay.
And there was Ruth, and what's the other one? I never remember her name.
So the descendant generation.
The sister-in-laws.
Yeah.
Remember there was war on the land, and they both lost their husbands. So then Naomi had to leave the land, and then that's when Ruth said, "Where you go, I will go." Blah blah blah. Ruth, you know, generated the lineage of David. But the other one that went back, why do I keep forgetting her name? I suppose she's not that relevant. The other one that went back, when she actually went back to that land, I think she was raped by giants. I think it recalls about 7 times or 7 different kinds of giants. Long story short, Goliath came out of that lineage of the one that didn't fulfill her purpose to follow, but to go back. So David's purpose was to kill Goliath was well before anything. So from the get-go, his purpose was already, I don't know if I'm making sense. It was predestined in God, but it took time to reveal for him.
But I think the question is, when did David himself know his purpose?
That's the thing.
Because everybody's purpose here is predestined. God knows exactly what your purpose is. You're the one. We're the ones that still probably don't know.
Yeah.
And we have to.
Can I add something?
Seek out.
What was David's purpose? Sorry. Was it to kill Goliath?
No, he wasn't to kill Goliath.
His purpose was to rule and to lead the people of God.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't have happened if
he
he
didn't
didn't have the encounter with Goliath.
And
The encounter with Goliath put him.
Not even that, because he was anointed.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So what was I going to say is just like the whole thing with time. Just like I said, okay, I found out I catch Rhema.
I already have my next question
That's
again.
like the gift. You know, when he found out he could kill the bear, you know.
No one knew. Actually, no one knew. No one knew about that. He was doing all that before
I'm
Goliath.
not about him. I'm not about the people knowing.
yeah.
This guy wrote Psalm 23 when he was young.
Yeah.
That's when he wrote Psalm 23 when he was with the shepherd. So he knows all these gifts, all this potential, they're all in him. Where is he going to? He doesn't know.
Yeah.
You know, he probably thinks he'll end up as a shepherd, just pouring out his heart to God.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. Now, there's Samuel. You see, that's why he always connects to God. Samuel knows where this is going. God comes, brings in Samuel, and he anoints him and tells him, this is what you're going to be. You're going to be a king, blah, blah. All those. You know, when he comes to the house looking for everybody, this, and that's so. And now said the person God wants to anoint is not here. It's like, oh, I have one more child. They say, go and fetch for him.
That is
This
when
is-
his
that's what I'm
purpose
saying.
found him. He didn't
Yeah.
find purpose. Like
Yeah.
his purpose found him.
But wait though.
Long
He was
before.
Because we
told.
may not
Long
always
before.
know our
No, he
purpose.
was told. He was told he's going to. Someone said it to him that God is anointing, just like he anointed Saul. It's the same thing with Saul. Even with Saul was giving prophecies that you will go, you will meet a man, blah blah blah. And so someone told Saul, you're going to be.
But like, you see, what I get from that is that like it's kind of like a prophet coming to tell me, Kyo, you'll be a musician, but I haven't seen it yet.
Are we comparing Samuel to today's
Exactly.
people?
No,
Are we
see,
comparing
in those
Samuel to
days-
today's people, to today's prophet?
Thank you, exactly.
Yeah,
Are we
know,
comparing Samuel?
You can't
You
go.
can't
I know,
compare-
I know.
Because anyone can come like
I know, but like,
you are going to
let's
be
say, let's say
a
the
ballet
Samuel.
dancer.
I know, but like, let's
The
say,
difference. The
That's a
difference.
I know. Let me just say, someone like that I did with your pastor Chris comes to me and say, Q, you be. I would take it with a pinch of salt. I'll be like, me, you know, something like that. You understand? You know, I'll be like, me.
You should go back to God and ask.
No, exactly.
Ask him
So,
about
like-
whatever word comes.
Okay, let me ask you a
I know.
question back.
Yeah,
If God told you this is your purpose, you know, you say there's a way God speaks to you.
Yeah.
God tells you show that video. This is your purpose.
if God tells
You
me
not find
directly,
the purpose.
no, but like that's true. That's God directly. I'm saying like, for example, like now.
See, that's
So
what I'm trying to
no,
say.
what I'm saying is that like, for example, like God used a vessel to say to me.
That's what I'm saying. In those days, that's how God spoke. God will never speak from the clouds. He spoke through Samuel. Even all their ordinances, everything, God spoke through Samuel. Do you know what I'm saying? So God told him directly what his purpose was through Samuel. Same way he did with Saul. You know, every other thing that. So I'm saying that to answer your question. When he knew his purpose, it was through Samuel.
I understand where you're coming from, and
Yeah.
that's because of the way God spoke to the people back then. There wasn't Jesus, there wasn't
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit. And what a lot of Christians fail to understand is, first and foremost, you have a relationship with God. If you are in God, you're seeking God, God will reveal your purpose to you. Now, if you're not sure, He may speak through somebody else to bring a confirmation of what He has probably already shown you, but you're not paying attention to. It's not that God can't speak to other, ministers for you. And probably there are people who are anointed to be prophets that will come to you before you even know. But as Prince said, do you go back to God? Like, how many of us go back to God and say,
True.
well, God, this person is a man of God. He said this. What are you saying? Because sometimes a lot of people just take, this pastor said I'll be this, and then you laugh. But it may not be. Like, do you know, I'm not saying that that person isn't true, but maybe that you don't know if that person was speaking out of flesh or truly speaking out of the Spirit. The only way you'll know is if you go back to the person who ordained your purpose from the first place. And I think that's where sometimes we find it, what's it called? We can get confused or lose our way when you're waiting for someone to tell your purpose, or you're hanging on the word of somebody else, and you leave God behind, who is the one that can actually show you the truth. And that's where sometimes we can miss it.
One thing I wanted to add there is because you said that you might be occupied by your own office, whereas your purpose is to do something else, right? There is a concern a danger when you have an office, because you often like the flesh would like to boast, that okay, I can heal people, and God is using me to heal people, and I'm being distracted by the effect of that, and I might forget about the relationship I must continue having with God Himself, and that there lies the danger, because you think that is by your own power that you're doing that, whereas you've forgotten about the relationship that you should have already by then, and continue having while you're ministering to other people. And because today you find people that, how can I say, boast maybe in a sense, or are really prideful of what they can. Well, God is using me, and exactly.
Or
So
ministers that don't come into praise and worship
so they
finish, and I'm like,
so they in that high pedestal that they are, they forget about how they started, and it's like Saul. Like, how did Saul start?
Get to that point,
And then where do we find Saul? So that's the danger. That's the concern we should also bear in mind.
God is more interested in our relationship than ourselves.
Yeah. I learned something from Dr. No, I don't know if he's a doctor now. Miles Monroe. God rest that man's soul. Oh my God. He gave an analysis that blew my mind and will forever stick with me. If you are flying, any pilot that's flying an airplane, you're listening to the tower. The tower tells you, okay, this runway, you can leave now, or this runway is now clear for you to land. So imagine there's 3 airplanes that take off in the air. They're all flying, and maybe all going different destinations, but maybe for the first hour they're on the same route. One pilot has gone ahead and is experiencing turbulence, the other one is experiencing turbulence, but one is lacking, behind, depending on what time they, that flight left. So pilots speak to each other, they communicate. So this pilot is hearing, this one is complaining of thunder, that one is complaining of whatever, but that pilot, that pilot cannot change its course unless they've been given specific instructions from the tower. Because you're holding the lives of people in the plane in the air. Even if the pilots ahead of you are saying, oh, thunder, you can't listen to them. You have to wait till you receive instruction, because what the tower can see, you can't see. If you've ever been in an airplane, you look out the window, all you see is clouds upon clouds. But you see the tower can see that if you, for a second, take decision in your own hand, and you say, oh, I'm hearing this person say there's thunder, so I'm going to turn left, you are crashing into another plane that you can't see. And that's the thing with a lot of Christians in our walk. Yes, it's good to listen to encouragement. It's good to, have people say this to you and say that to you. But who are you listening to? You can take the wrong information, or maybe somebody is going through a storm in a place where you're heading. But that person has gotten there before you, and that storm is for them to learn their lesson. You probably have to pass through that same path, but you may not experience the same thing. That storm could have cleared before you got there. But you're saying, oh, this path is, I gotta go this way, and you crash and land somewhere else. Now the thing is, God is merciful, that like a GPS, if you miss your way, God will reroute you. It may take you longer to get there now, but God is faithful that if you turn to Him, He will reroute you back. So He said, trust the detours that God is taking you on. Even when you make mistakes, God will find a way to reroute you. But in the first place, you shouldn't have had to go through that detour if only you waited for instruction. You were too busy listening to other people. It's good, listen. But, even in listening to people, as Prince, who do you go back to? Okay, that pilot is saying, should call the tower and say, so person, or where pilots are saying this is, because the tower can hear that conversation too. This is it. What do I do? And then you take instructions. But a plane, you would never see a plane take instruction from other pilots. They get instruction from the tower. Until that tower tells them land, until that tower tells them fly, or go to this runway, they do not move. Because the tower understands the lives of people are at risk. The same with your purpose, your destiny. Like Saul, there was many people tied to the destinies of Saul. Many people tied to the destiny of David. If David failed, we don't know the gravity of what could happen to the people tied to him. Joseph, his family was tied to him, and they didn't know that they were, like, his own family led him, his own family, like, imagine that his own family led him to his purpose by his brothers being wicked. Now, it might have seemed like, oh my God, what am I going through? But he was the savior for his family. But they didn't understand that. And it's amazing that sometimes you might be born into a family, but your family don't really have a full understanding of your purpose.
They're rating you, man.
They just don't hate.
But you know, God is faithful in that even if your family don't, He will send the likes of people like Samuel, people who are true people of God, to help guide you.
You see why I asked that why I was saying that is because, like, you know, one thing Henry said that really struck me was time. When David came to where his brothers were with Saul, and you see, the reason why I believe that, the reason why no one could face Goliath at that point, I'm sure it's not because there wasn't someone there, because God could have raised anyone to defeat Goliath.
Yeah.
But David was waiting for a time like that. You see, when David was actually pouring his CV, he said, the birds I killed in the bush, then with his uncircumcised Philistine, he had to put, physically he killed Goliath before he killed him, you understand? He said, with his uncircumcised Philistine, you understand? He brought him to the lowest of the lowest, you understand? So I was thinking, I was actually telling him yesterday, and I said, at that point, there was this holy anger in David that was stirred up at that point. Like, you know, when he saw Goliath, it's not that the rest of the Israelites were not angry at the chance of Goliath, you know, because I'm trying to think about in those days, Goliath wasn't a Christian, so obviously he had his own gods as well. So he was probably calling the Baal of those days, you know, and, you know, pouring as in drinks on the ground and stuff like that, trying to feel, you know, pompous and all. But the Israelite could not reply, not because God was not there, but because there was somebody that was born for a time as that. You know, that God was training. You know, and it's so funny that the way God trains us for our purpose is not the way we want to be trained. Think about it.
Thank you.
How would he know that killing the lions? You know, when I said talked about Psalm 23, you know, and he said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You understand? He even talked about the valley of the shadow of death. Now, a pastor explained it to us. It was like, you know, the valley is when, like, the shepherd is going through the valley with the sheep and all, and then a lion comes, and then the lion's shadow is cast in the valley. So the shepherd knows that there is danger on the hill of the valley. Do you understand? So at that point, the shepherd goes there, sacrificing his own life to save the sheep. And imagine that kind of training, and that's with an animal that does not have empathy as a human, you understand? And when he saw Goliath, all he could remember was not his brothers as soldiers, you know, what they might have taught him about war. He was thinking about the battles that he has faced that no one else could see.
You cannot underrate the place of preparation when it comes to purpose. You see, there's something I was talking. There's something I was in Cork. I was telling David. I was just sharing. Look, when I came to this country, like, I kind of had some of my own ways of what I believed. I use example, and a good example is relationship. This thing when I was in, it's different for everybody. When I was in high school, my patron, he told me, if God shows you who you're going to get married to now, he's lying. And he said God cannot lie. I'm just using that as an example because for me that was the word, to wait. When I came to Ireland, it was just there's a lot of peer pressure. You know, people were dating everywhere, and you know, it was just so many. It was one of my biggest challenges. And then I remember so many times I tried to do it, or I did it, and it gave me scars that, as I am as a grown person, I had to go back and I was like, why am I like this? Why am I? So why am I always? Why don't I trust people?